Hi everybody, my name is Ben Carnevale. I'm making this video today to explain to everybody what exactly the Lost Dog Trail is and why we have to vote for Prop A on May 4th. You see this mountainside here? This is West El Paso. This is the foot of the mountains here. This is where Lost Dog Trail is. Now, for those of you who have never been out there, Lost Dog Trail is a really long trail that goes all the way up to the mountains from down below. And what it is people use it to hike, walk their dogs. They go sightseeing. They go looking at the plants out there, the ecosystem, and it's essentially just a great place for El Paso to continue to enjoy because it's where we get away from the city. It's where we get away from the everyday life of work and stress and what have you. And it's a great place to exercise. If you've never run up and down or ridden a bike up down this trail, you really need to try it because you're missing out if you're not. But in this video, I want to explain to you I guess the three top reasons why we gotta save this trail. There's a thousand reasons why we should, but I think I'm only gonna highlight the top three. And the reason being is, I can go on for an hour and I don't want to do that. I'd rather keep it short. But this is just so you can inform your friends and family of why we need to get out and vote on May 4th to preserve Lost Dog Trail. The first reason is if you understand what a TERS zone is, a TERS zone is essentially a way to incentivize businesses and developers to come into an area that they may not have gone into before for whatever reason. It's not worth developing, and so they're not going to waste their time to invest it and waste the risk. So what a city does is they will essentially waive taxes for these property developers, or they will take this property and they'll uh, essentially say you can build your business here, and we'll waive these taxes here, and over the course of the years we're going to give you money back so you can stay here. And what the idea is to develop some sort of new economy or a boost to the economy, which very rarely ever happens. If you look through cities like Houston and Chicago, you can see how the corruption takes place when these TERS zones start to kick in. This TERS zone in particular is a 36-year TERS plan. And you see here on the number one, it says save El Paso nearly $100 million on lost tax revenue. So what happens is there's an area marked around this zone. If you go look at the map, you'll see the neighborhood that's marked around. We're currently taking all of that tax revenue annually that these people pay in property tax, and we're putting it back in our general fund for the city. Now, you probably can't tell because the roads are terrible out there, and they're not using the general fund money properly. But what's going to happen in the TERS zone is what they do is they take the current rate of tax revenue that they're accepting right now, that they're taking from that zone, and what they do is they mark it off. It's the topped off point where the city gets its money. And what happens next is anything that rises above that marked line, that marked level of revenue, goes back into that zone. The far majority of that time, and its research can prove it, it goes back to the developers. The city loses all that money. So why give a company incentive to come in and lose all that tax revenue just to keep them there? It's not working. It doesn't work the way the plan says it works because you can go, like I said, go research the TER zones in Houston and especially in Chicago. You'll see one case in Chicago where they placed a TER zone on a skyscraper and a high rise that the developer had a person there, and what they did is they gave it to him so he could remodel his sky rise. Meanwhile, that's your tax money. That's those people in Chicago's tax money. What's going to happen here, and what's going to happen in Cohen Stadium, and what happens in every TER zone is that money goes back to the developer for them to put back into their businesses. So essentially, what's happening is we're taking our money, paying our taxes. Only a percentage goes to the city. The rest goes to these developers so they can do what they wish with it. Now, why would we want to pay a developer to do that instead of giving it back to our city where we can fix our roads and pay our cops and pay our fire department, the essentials that the city needs? If you follow the city budget as closely as I do, and a lot of us do, you could see how this city is so broke. They can't even pay for the roads. There's roads out there that haven't been paved in 30 years. My own father's road hasn't been paved in 30 years that he's lived there. And it's not a surprise when you look at the street, you can tell it hasn't been paved, just like most streets in your neighborhood. But yet they got to give all this money to these developers so to keep them coming in for whatever reason, and it's not doing anybody any good except their wealthy developers. Guess what happens then? These developers, well, they're already in their pockets. These developers donate to their campaigns. That's why they can't say no. When it goes to a ballot, when it goes to a vote in city council, these people don't say no because the developers stuffed their campaign funds with that money. So it's no surprise. People shouldn't be surprised why the city council votes the way they do. But that's enough is enough. If these developers continue, and you could look at the names, I don't need to mention the names. A lot of us know who the big donors are in this city. But if you look at it, you can see all these representatives who are representing us get their campaigns filled with $2,500 and whatever else behind the table by these billionaires. And so, of course, they're going to vote in favor, whatever's going to favor the developer. The people disregard. In fact, if you saw the special city council meeting that happened yesterday, you'll hear Mayor Margo say their side, meaning they were going to vote to decide if the city was going to put some money in to advertise the idea of voting against Prop A, meaning if you vote against Prop A, you're voting against preserving Lost Dog Trail. Okay, essentially it's what you're doing. And the city voted to put some of our taxpayer money, roughly $25,000, into an advertising campaign to convince people to not preserve Lost Dog Trail. And the mayor said, the reason for it is because the other side, meaning the people who are trying to preserve the trail, are the other side, meaning the city council clearly is not on our side. Now, all I know is the way the government works is we elect these folks so they can be on our side, our representatives, to do as we ask. But it doesn't work that way in government, does it? Especially not here in El Paso. So that's the first reason why we need to save. We're going to save at least $100 million that can go back into our streets, go back into our police department, fire department, etc. Okay. The second thing we do is we're going to be able to preserve all 1,000 plus acres of open space land, as well as the beautiful landscape. Now, you're going to see in the city's propaganda that they're going to preserve something like 250 acres or so. That's baloney. If you know how the city works, you don't trust anything the city says because they lie out every time. And this is just another bait and switch. Oh, we'll preserve 250 acres, right? They'll get the tours going. They'll build all this resort. They'll build these houses. They'll collect this revenue, and then they'll think about, we can make some more money. Let's take the rest of the 250. It's inevitable. It's inevitable. The city, you can't trust these people, especially with the city manager, the way they operate. So preserving all those acres will be for generations to come. That won't be able to be touched. We need to preserve this mountainside, not only for us today, but for our future generations. And, for number 3, it'll allow for the continued tourism to El Paso. See, Lost Dog Trail is actually one of the least expensive tourist draws for the city because people come to town, they get in a hotel, they want to go hiking, they go hiking. They come visit family, they want to go for a walk. People go to Lost Dog Trail and a few other trails that are at the foot of the mountain. That's what we do in El Paso. We have more things to do outdoors than indoors. The Southwest ecosystem is one of the most popular in the country, especially during wintertime. People come down here, they want to go for a hike, they want to go for a bike ride, they want to take their dog out for a walk. They go here, and especially Lost Dog Trail being in such close vicinity to the city. They don't have to drive to New Mexico or drive up to White Sands or any of these other areas. They're right here in El Paso. So taking Lost Dog Trail and destroying it so they could put a resort there that most of us will most likely never even use or go to, it's ridiculous. And you just look at all of the reasons that I've just pointed out, those 3 reasons. Now we're nearly $2 billion in debt already. 10 years ago, if you look at my profile, you'll see a chart that I made that it was a 10-year challenge, right? 2008, we were roughly $800 million in debt as a city. Fast forward 10 years, we're now sitting over $1.8 I'm sorry, did I say 800 billion dollars in debt. Fast forward 10 years to today, we're now 1.8 billion dollars and climbing in debt. Not to mention, we are the second highest property tax city in the country behind Detroit. And I guarantee you, if the Texas legislature don't do their job and put a cap on this tax increases for property and other, we're going to be number one real soon. So this city council is doing nothing for us. We're going to be like California if we continue to let this city push down this terrible, this twisted vision they have of making El Paso like Austin, like Dallas. We're not Austin. We're not Dallas. We'll never be Austin or Dallas. Reason? We're not on the I-35 corridor. We don't have this huge Fortune 500 companies coming into the city that are going to want to move their huge factories here. We don't have that kind of city that is designed to do that. What the city, again, we can go on to that, and it's just a long story. But this is about Lost Dog Trail, and the three reasons that I just told you about are the ones that I think they're the most important to preserve this preserve this trail. Because if we don't, it's just going to be another lie, another twisted, made up story that the city gives us. Meanwhile, we're going to get deeper in debt because all that money we're losing for our, like I said, for our roads, for our police, and for just our general fund for around the city to maintain this city. We're already hurting as it is. That's why your taxes keeps going up. That's why they continuously get ready for the third time. It's going to come just in the third time in the last 4 years. 3 taxes are going to go up again this year. I guarantee you. Watch. Mark this video in a few weeks when they get to voting for the new tax increase for next year. Watch, it'll happen. And then you're going to say he was right. You got to vote to preserve Lost Dog Trail. Send a message to this city council. Send a message to them and let them know that we're done letting them take advantage of us. Thank you.